How are people healed from hypnotherapy? In my previous episode, we had Norman Plotkin talk to us about how the subconscious mind affects how we feel and think. Can we really change our subconscious? Hi, this is Takatoshi Shibayama, the host of the Future Design Podcast. In this episode, we have Wendi Friesen, a veteran hypnotherapist, talks to us about her experiences and outcomes of healing people. She explains the vast amount of benefits, not just from tackling insomnia and trauma, but enhancing cognitive abilities of people working in high-stress environments. It's absolutely amazing. So stick around to the end. So I was reading about hypnosis quite a lot before our interview, and it seems like it was kind of like meditation, but without the specific. The hypnosis is more about specific attention to certain things and blending that subconscious and conscious mind. Whereas in meditation, it seems like it's more about releasing. Well, it's the same about blending that subconscious and conscious, but not without that focus. It's supposed to be about no awareness, or awareness that there's nothing, and letting things come to be, where in your expertise it's about guiding people through that mixture of subconscious and conscious, and getting to a specific area that you can find out. And in a lot of times, in movies you always say, look into my eyes, look into my eyes, but it obviously doesn't seem like it's that kind of thing. So could you tell us a little bit more about the hypnosis that you teach to your clients?
Yeah, for sure. But first of all, just thank you for having me on this program, Takatoshi. I am always so grateful to get to spread the word and help people understand how they can live a better life. And I'm not just saying that like, oh yeah, let's all live a better life, but there are so many easy things people can do to use hypnosis on themselves to feel better, to be healthier, to think more clearly, or to be more creative. It is amazing. I've been doing this for 25 years, and the miracles I see are just blow my mind. They're just crazy. So meditation, as you were saying, is the absence of thought. We're trying to release thought from our mind and from our consciousness, where hypnosis is still getting into that same state of brain waves where you're in that alpha, and that you're getting out of beta and into alpha and theta. But in hypnosis, you're guiding your brain to do something very specific. And a really good example is when I've worked with people who want to enhance their brain function for a specific purpose, like a woman who is taking the bar exam to be an attorney and she needed to remember all this information, or when I was working with traders in San Francisco that needed to process these fractions while they're standing in the pits. This was many years ago when they traded in those pits, and they had to be ready to just process these fractions so fast. And being able to do that and get even children to get them to be better spellers or to do math, it was so easy to get the brain to use the specific functions that it has and do it at lightning speed way faster than we can do consciously. So that's one part of what I started doing that was really fascinating. The other part is all the health things that we can do to make ourselves have a better immune system and not get sick, but to have a better attitude about health as well, which affects the likeliness of us getting sick or staying well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of yours, or other people as well, trying to treat people with addiction or PTSD, or different types of mental illnesses through this. And I've seen other research done on, let's say, like psychedelics, or different types of medicine, alternative medicines that try to teach people, or treat people, sorry, on curing all these mental difficulties that we're carrying
Yeah.
all the time. And how does hypnosis react to those illnesses?
Well, it's not a one word answer, but there are so many different things that we have to look at. For instance, you just said PTSD. So I have a program for veterans, and I've worked with them personally for things like, just the fears that they have that come up, or for phantom pain. So you know that with phantom pain, if someone loses a leg or an arm, they still have the pain for years. It doesn't ever go away. But yet, in our lives, if we have an injury, when it heals, our brain knows to stop the response of the pain going to the brain and telling that part to heal, the brain sending the information to that place in the body for it to heal. So when I worked with veterans for PTSD, again, my mind was totally blown. I had the first guy, I had him go from his brain down inside of his body, imagining he's going all the way down to his leg, to the place it was injured when he lost his leg. And then what I realized is the brain never received the signal that this leg was healed, because it wasn't healed. It was removed. So it was still the energy of that pain. And so we would take these journeys down to his leg to have it imagined being healed, sending that information back to the brain. And it worked. I mean, it worked just like that, because the brain now got the programming that said, oh, that's done. I don't have to keep reacting to the pain. And another man who had diabetes, and he had his foot removed, and he had had pain for 2 years. He drank a fifth of whiskey every night, went to a pain clinic for 2 years. Nothing helped. We did the same thing where we got the brain to understand that this is already healed. It's done. It went away just like that. His pain stopped. So, and addiction is such a passion of mine. The way that we are treating addiction worldwide is so opposite of how the brain works. So we had, in the 1930s, they invented AA, and we didn't have any brain science then, and there was nothing else available, but it was made in a way that doesn't stand up now, where we know in 2020 about how the brain works. If you go with how we send information through the neural pathways and how we remove the triggers and how we change how we react to experiences around us and create powerful people that are strong and healthy, they just don't need to drink anymore. It makes no sense to me, because I know how hard it is for people to quit drinking or drugs. But when we do this work, and my practitioners that have learned from me, when they do it, they're like, this is crazy. People are just like, yeah, it's okay. I don't need to do it, which is miraculous and kind of crazy.
Yeah, I've even read stories when hypnosis started showing up in history books that doctors would use this to, well, because back then there were no anesthesia, so people use hypnosis to calm the mind and try to take out that senses that feels pain, so that they can conduct operations on them. I mean, it's super fascinating to think that we can, I guess, I don't know if you could call it manipulate or control the mind, but to take out those senses out of our brain and remove pain, physical pain that you can really feel. I mean, I just don't think that you can really take that out. So it's amazing how this thing works. And I would love to dive in little bit more into this. I mean, how does our mind work that we can cut different, let's say addiction or pain, physical pain from our body? I mean, how does that hypnosis work into our brain?
Yeah, well, some of it is still a little bit unknown, but we have a lot of brilliant people in this business now. When I started 25 years ago, it was still a business full of funny old men who were just doing like direct suggestion, the watch swingers and stuff. But the people who are making this business something that is innovation and science, it helps us to know why it's working. So if you were an alcoholic and all you thought of was, I've got to quit drinking, I just can't do this anymore, I've destroyed my life, and you know that anytime you think of alcohol or you see someone drinking or you drive by a bar, it's going to trigger your brain and you're going to think, oh no, oh God, oh, I've just got to have this. But what I've done is our brain holds memories in specific locations. So if there's certain locations where you have these memories that are triggering the need to drink or do drugs or whatever, I have a process where I've put a different memory in there or different emotions and beliefs in that area. And those emotions and beliefs are that I love my healthy body. I love my family. I'm free from this. It's not even a thing. It's not even part of my life. And we put this heavy emotional experience in hypnosis to those places where they had the fear of drinking and the inability to stop. So now one of my clients said, he had quit drinking about a month before with my program. And he said, I was at a conference and I'm sitting at the bar drinking club soda, but my friend came up who did not know that I had quit drinking. He bought me a glass of my favorite scotch. He waved it under my nose. Now that should have created a huge trigger, right?
Yeah, for
Because that,
sure. Yeah.
oh, and he said, when I smelled it, I instantly knew I was strong and healthy and in control, and that emotional state was just locked in. I knew, had no effect on me. And a woman stopped me in the grocery store long ago, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I quit drinking with your program. It's so great to meet you." She says, "Now, when I see the wine aisle in the grocery store, I just want to dance. I feel so good because it has no effect on me." And it's crazy that we have this ability. But this is what I think, that the places in the brain that had the triggers and the fears and all the conflict, I've replaced something different, replaced the reaction in those same places in the brain. So now the whiskey under the nose, it should have triggered his fear and his uncertainty and his wanting that whiskey, but instead it just made him feel, nope, I got this, I'm fine. So it's something like, with many different things we do this, and we want to make sure that we're not making the person fight the problem or resist it or have to go out there and be strong, because they don't have to do that anymore. They just need to use the right processes to get that belief in place and support it with all the emotional, physical, sounds, senses, words, phrases, everything that we can to build the strongest belief.
Yeah, I've been through a session before, and this is not hypnosis, but it was called a Lin Wall releasing. And what we did was think about all the negative beliefs that we had about ourselves, or limiting beliefs, and then take them out piece by piece by just saying that I release the feeling of X, I release the feeling of this and that, and then once you peel off these things, then the positives can come into. Basically, that was the concept of that thing. It seems a little bit similar to that, because what you're doing is trying to take out all the addiction, the pain, the sufferings in your brain, and replacing that with more positive energy or positive mindset, so that they all kind of go away. Is that how our mind really is created? It seems like it's more like a computer chip that you just recode something and then rewire it. Is it as simple as that?
Well, it doesn't seem like it should be that simple, but when we look at our brain as being like the desktop of a computer with all these folders and icons that all have content of a specific kind, that is kind of how our brain works. So if I'm going to tell you, in your brain, open up the folder that's about cats and all the different kinds of fur that cats have and all the different sounds they make, now your brain has just searched for all the meowing and the fur and the things cats do. And it keeps opening all those up. So I didn't tell you to open up a file about trains, and so you didn't think about trains, but that is really true. What you were doing is letting your mind open a certain memory and emotional experience and change that and put different information in there. And it is so simple, like, to fix some problems that people have such torture with. So an example, when I worked with some children, there was a young girl who, every time you said the word math, I think she was in second grade, every time you said the word math, she would just cry. And her mom said, "Don't say math in front of her." And she had been going through this for a year, and she truly had tears. And I was talking to her in my office, and I accidentally said the word math, and she just like fell apart.
Wow.
She had no control over this. And so I had her sit there, close her eyes, and I said, "Go back to where you learned to be so scared about math." And she went to something that happened in first grade, that she was scared and teased, and these boys were saying, "You don't know how to even add 1 + 1 + 1. You're so stupid." And it was a whole bunch of them ganging up on her. And so we released that. She rode out of there on an imaginary Pegasus, and I said some suggestions that said, "It's so nice that you don't have to worry about that anymore. You're free, and those boys are idiots." And she never had a fear of math anymore. It was that simple, but it was a year-long problem. Or there was a little boy that was scared of kindergarten, and he was crying every day when they tried to take him to kindergarten, wouldn't go in the door. And so his dad got in touch with me and said, "What can you do?" So I made a story for this little boy as a bedtime story about this wizard that has all these powers. And the boy goes with the wizard to feel his strength and his confidence, just something in general. It wasn't about school. And the dad said, he went to kindergarten the next day. He walked right in there, and he's loving it every day. And now, of his own decision, he's helping other kids who are afraid of school.
Wow.
And whatever
That's
happened in
amazing.
that
Yeah.
story, just like that. Oh, yeah. Mind
Wow.
blown all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can implant all those ideas into your head and recharge yourself. And let's can I take another example, like insomnia?
Mm.
That's a personal problem that I have as well. A lot of times that I think a little too much, and I think I'm implanting in my head that I do have insomnia, even though I can actually take a nap and fall asleep quite easily during the day if I wanted to. So I think there's a lot of control that you're actually putting into your brain at the all times, like in subconsciously. So, what is your method of relaxing the brain? Because in meditation, we sit down and try not to think about anything and just let things flow. You
Yeah.
relax the mind as well and help them relax the mind through beautiful music or different types of methods. What is a good way to get us into that flow state of trying to let that the subconscious and conscious
Yeah.
blend out?
Well, you mentioned something like that you say you have a problem with insomnia, and that's true for you. You do. But when we build such a big belief that we have insomnia, and people who have it, they are absolutely certain and they are saying, I'm the worst insomniac ever. Well, with that belief there, you're afraid of going to bed. Your subconscious is going, oh no, not another night of doing that. Oh, and there's a few things you can do. And one of them is to find the like an imaginary part of you, but we just call them parts, they're ego states. There's a part of you that needs to have insomnia. There's something that it's afraid of or something that it believes about going to sleep that has made it difficult. So people can do this on their own at home, and you can just lie down, relax, take some breaths, and say, where is the part of me that is so afraid of falling asleep? And you notice where you feel it, maybe in your belly or in your forehead or your shoulders. You'll just feel this energy or something that's there. And then we talk to that part and say, why do you need me to lie awake? And then that part, which is basically your subconscious, says something like, because I'm so afraid that I might fail at my job tomorrow, or I'm afraid that I might really ruin the speech I have to give. And then you say thank you, and you ask the part even deeper, why do you need to lie awake? And the part will give you another answer that maybe is very personal. And then you ask the part, what do you need in order to allow me to go to sleep and sleep really deep and peaceful? And then it will give you an answer that is specific to you. So this will make sense to you when you do this. And doing this helps resolve the conflict that was just churning away and in churning in fear before you ever even got in bed. I have a goal of getting 100,000 insomniacs to go to sleep for free. I just think it'd be so cool if I could get that many people on board and say, yeah, because I do cure people's horrendous insomnia. And in one night, it's like first night. So on Reddit, on one of the subreddits, it's in insomnia, and there's another sleep subreddit that has like 50, 60,000 people who are tortured. They want to kill themselves because they can't sleep. So I put links to some recordings for free. And even the ones who were sure it wouldn't work, it worked the first night and they slept. So my really big goal is to find a way to get as many people as possible to sleep, because it's torturous and it's so bad for your health. And right now, with our immune systems being compromised by insomnia and stress and depression, we have got to get something that keeps us stronger. But yeah, that's my big goal. I was in Hawaii at a farmer's market walking around, and this woman came running up and she said, oh my God, Wendi, I'm so glad to meet you. 8 years of insomnia. I have had every night for 8 years, and you cured it with your recording. It just was gone. That's it. I sleep so good. And I'm again, mind's blown.
Isn't that great that
Oh,
somebody you don't even know just walks up to you in the middle of the street and tells you that you cured them? I mean,
yeah.
that's amazing feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in Bali a few years ago, and I had hurt my back because I dove in the pool kind of wrong. And I mean, the funny part of it is that's not so funny is they don't have any vehicles to really transport you. So they brought a door. They took a door off the hinges and put me on it and put me in the back of a pickup truck, a very old pickup truck. took me to this beautiful hospital, beautiful, like, you know, upper class hospital for there. Um, the two nurses come in and they're both kind of giggling, saying, you're Wendi. And I said, yeah, well, did I do something? Said, the doctor wants your autograph. And I was like, what the, I'm in Bali. And then at the same place, I'm getting an MRI, and the MRI guy pulls out his phone and he starts showing me all my videos and the audios that he listens to. He says, every day I listen to you every day.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And yeah. But I'm glad that I've had such a huge effect and a huge reach to help people, especially for free with all the YouTube stuff. And it's been the most gratitude I could have in the world to help people with these really difficult problems.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are super stressed, not just during these modern times, but it is part of how we are these days, that we have to worry about so many things, and there's a lot of ego within ourselves. And you mentioned about the ego state, and which I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit more. We hear this word a lot about people who are have these beliefs in ourselves, and this is like who I am, and this strong ego of like your self-awareness. But we need to break down those egos, right, in order to improve ourselves. Many ways that we're always limiting ourselves to this idea of who we are, and can you help us a little bit how to break down this ego state?
Yeah, so this was something that I didn't really study or look at, but when I started learning hypnotherapy and the parts therapy and finding the complexities of these ego states that we call a part of us, one of the things that was the most stunning to me was when I first started doing this work. I was a single mom. My two kids were very little, and I was flat broke, and I was desperately broke. Oh my God, it was horrible. Ugh, they kept turning off the utilities all the time, and we had no money anyway. I was why am I doing this? Why am I sabotaging all these things that I could be doing? Every time I start something, I do something to screw it up. So I decided to do the therapy on myself to find that ego state that needed to sabotage my success, or needed to be poor or something, which was
Right.
crazy because I had done well in the past. So I sat down and took some breaths, and I asked the part of me that, and I called it the one that needed to be poor. So this ego state that collected all the information and decided it needed to be poor. And I asked that part, it was in my belly, kind of in that solar plexus area. And I asked it, what do you want? And it says, I need you to be pitiful. And this was stunning because that was not what I thought was a part of me, but this ego state, that's what it said. So that's what it believed. And I said, thank you. And I said, even deeper, what do you need? And the part said, I need you to be even more pitiful. Ooh, that was, even just repeating it now is like, whoa, my God. So I asked the part, why do you need me to be more pitiful? And the part said, because then somebody will rescue you. So I was operating out of this belief in this ego state that was like a living entity that had the belief that I wasn't bad enough off and I needed someone to rescue me. There was no other option. So I cleared that up with that part and did some more work on going into my future, which this is another part of hypnotherapy that is amazingly powerful. I went 1 year into my imaginary future, and there I was at 1 year with all these people who were my clients. I was speaking to groups. I'd written a book that people loved, and I saw all these faces that were so grateful. And when I was done with that session, I wrote down on a Post-it note that in 1 year from now, I will have made $1 million or more in my business, which was ridiculous. I had no way that that could possibly happen. But I did some more work on my belief system and things, but that parts therapy piece about being rescued was huge. 1 year later, I made $1,012,000, and I bought a brand new, beautiful house. And that was on my Post-it note too, that I'll open the door to my beautiful house. Brand new, beautiful house. Awesome. Because I had done that work. I had gotten out of that self-sabotage and the conflict. And then my business, then I thought, well, if I did $1 million this year, how about 2 million the next year? So new post-it note. And I said, oh, how about 3 million? And it kept going and going until 2008. Things fell apart when the economy fell apart in the, in the US and such.
Sure.
But it was just me creating it out of thin air. But if I hadn't done this work, it would never have happened if I didn't find out what that ego state was believing.
Yeah, that's so powerful, because I think a lot of us has that. And we're always looking for a way to break that down. And can you give us a little bit of tips at how we can self-help ourselves and training our mind that we are having these limiting beliefs and trying to break through those barriers?
Yeah, and this is something that anyone can do, and like either take notes right now, or you can contact me and I'll give you the information for free for you to go step by step through it. When I went into that future, I imagined myself being at the start of a path in a forest, and it was a beautiful path and beautiful trees, and I was going to be walking into my future. So as I'm walking, and not sure where things are going to go, but I was walking and I knew that it was about me being abundant and worthy of wealth. And I had done some other work about my beliefs. Um, Partway down the path, all of a sudden, there was this big wall that came up. And it was this big built of just heavy rocks. It was very, very wide. And I stopped and stepped back, and I had not created this. I didn't ask for it. And then I asked the wall, why are you here? And the wall then wrote on it, your father. And I said, what does this have to do with my father? And the wall said, if you make more money than your father, he will be devastated. That was not a conscious belief I had. I had no idea that that was anywhere in my psyche. And it was very powerful, and it was very true, because he had been a very successful entrepreneur. He taught me everything about being an entrepreneur and being fearless and everything, but that statement was true. So then I took down the wall. So metaphorically, me taking down that wall was understanding it and just knowing that issue is there, and now I can proceed without fighting it. So for those of you listening, if you do this and you go on a path into your future, maybe you'll have a wall. You can notice how big it is or how small it is or what it's made of, but you ask the wall, why are you here? What do you represent? And you'll get some information that now it's not hidden from you. When these beliefs are hidden from us, we can't do anything about them. But now that it's known, it's no longer a force working against you. So then going farther into that future, and going all the way to a year in the future, I wasn't creating what I experienced. It just happened there. So there's a difference between like pushing it, like really trying to decide, okay, I'm going to go be rich. I can do this. And you go to that future and you go, I got a yacht and I got a Ferrari and people love me. So it's not that. You're going to go into it and allow it to be created for you and find out what you're doing. You might be doing something totally different than you imagined. You know, maybe you were really like kind of a greed element was going on in your life, and you just felt like you just needed more money than everybody. And maybe in your future, you find out that you're kind of a philanthropist and you're helping people, and that's where your heart is, or that you just want to find a cause and do something to make things better for people, and that's where you accept being wealthy. But even people like the market makers that I worked with, even though they were making lots of money, they had issues with wealth and their belief system and their unworthiness. And it was amazing to learn that as I worked with each of them privately.
Yeah, I guess no amount of money can really change exactly who you are deep down inside. So unless they are really comfortable with the wealth that they have, I guess it doesn't really help them to be happy as well. You know, I worked in the finance industry for a long time, so I know exactly, that feeling.
Yeah, and people you work with, even though they're powerful, confident people, they still have this stuff from when they were kids. It's still there, and from disappointments or failures in the past. Because if we're brave, we're going to have failures for sure. But one of the early in my career, man from Qatar, who was a member of the ruling family, he got in touch with me. His initial email to me was, I want to learn to hypnotize women for sex. Money is no object. And I thought, and he didn't put who he was in the email.
Every
And I
man's
thought,
dream,
yeah,
right?
yeah, right. You and everybody else. So he flew me to Europe and we worked together for a week. And it wasn't about sex, it was about feeling loved. And it was about him feeling lovable. And even though he was one of the wealthiest men like on our planet, probably, oh my gosh, that he still wanted to feel loved. And that was so beautiful that we were able to help with that. So he wasn't feeling like he had to have power over women to have more sex. What he was looking for was more feeling loved and worthy of love. It was an amazing experience. Oh my gosh, it was so great.
Right. Well, and are there any ways that we can also help ourselves to do this kind of training of mind? Because you talked about this wall and trying to see this wall. Is there any way to get into that state where we can actually see this wall, even if it was subconsciously?
Yeah, yeah. So you have to learn to get into trance. Like if you lie down and close your eyes and relax your body, that's a good start. But you need to get out of that critical state where your mind is still like, oh, what about this and this and this? And you're trying to figure things out. You've got to get past the figuring it out. Because if you knew what the problem was consciously, you wouldn't have the problem anymore. It's because it's deeper and it's hidden from you. So getting into trance, like on my site, there's a bunch of free stuff that helps you learn how to get into trance and recordings and stuff. Um, but I think that one of the most powerful seminars that I do is about the financial abundance. And it's about money, but also about the energy, the pain, the fears, and all of that, because people don't know what their deepest fear is. So for a person to do it on their own is great, but if you do listen to even a recorded program that takes you through all the different parts of the belief system and the self-sabotage, and like my thing about the need to be pitiful or the wall, you do each one in a chunk and you build your beliefs over a period of time, maybe over a period of a couple of weeks. Because if people write affirmations and say, I'll be rich, or they they change a statement, says I'm worthy of wealth, but that didn't clear up my wall or my pitifulness or my issues.
Yeah, I'll definitely put your YouTube channels on our show notes. And are there any other places that people can reach out to you?
Yeah, my website is wendi.com and it's Wendi with an I, so WENDI. And one of the things I really love is working with business people who are successful, but they have stuff that they just haven't been able to uncover or release. And that's one thing I'm really, really good at. Addiction as well. So if you're all stressed out and you're drinking too much or you have some drug use, you need a confidential place that you can work on it without going to rehab. So if you go to rehab, you're going to have to listen to a lot of sad stories. They're going to tell you you have to be powerless. You are going to have to admit that you're diseased for the rest of your life and all those beliefs that are so disempowering. So if people want to get past an addiction, it's an excellent way to do it. And like some of my clients, I only work with them in person for 4 or 5 days and they're good. They're good. And I follow up for months and years and they're totally good. It's amazing. And it's such a relief because they've been to so many rehabs and AA meetings and 12 step where they are told this is the only way. And then they find out there's another way. But yeah, working with business people who still have those little issues, or they're afraid they're going to screw something up or sabotage some big project, or they run out of steam. Like, even at your level, I'm sure there's times where you've been like, oh, do I have to do this one more time?
For
Do I really
sure.
have to get up and rock it?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like that throughout my financial days. I've talked to my wife about it. I was like, how do I feel, or how do I seem like compared to my finance days and now? And she says it's a world of difference, because there were so many days that I just didn't feel like giving back to the family, or just wanted to hide out in my own self. And I'm sure there was a lot of damage that was being done to my brain and my body during that time.
Yeah, yeah. So what you're doing now, how long have you been doing this blockchain thing?
So it's been about 2.5 years now,
Oh,
and
wow.
we build blockchain solutions for enterprises And of course, during this time, it's very difficult to sell. So again, it runs into quite a lot of problems financially. But if I guess if I'm doing something that I really like doing and it has a purpose to me, then it gives me a lot more energy to go about it on even through these difficulties.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about on your website, and it sounds like there's a greater good that you are striving for with
Yeah.
this, and in the ways it simplifies some businesses and makes things better. And it just sounded like you have a really good mission statement with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Are
Thank
you
you.
are you the founder as well?
Yeah. So
And
I started this company.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
what a big undertaking.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is. It is. I always had this entrepreneurship bug, even during my youthful days, but I never knew it was going to be this hard.
Well, it's such a competitive market, and the technical part of it. When I was starting out, I mean, we barely had AOL for email.
Mm.
And to build a website, my nephew, who was 12 years old, knew how to code. So
Yeah.
he's
Right.
one of the few people who could build a website. So he built a one-page website, and that was the technology we had. So it just
Yeah.
wasn't so complex, and the competition wasn't there.
Yeah.
In my, because none of the other hypnotherapists knew how to build a website back then.
Mm.
But yeah, I was very fortunate to have good timing. And then when Google AdWords first came out, like
Yeah.
very first, it was like, wow, what's this? This is really cool. So I bought all these keywords for like 5 cents a click. And all of a sudden overnight, I was like, whoa, I was doing a lot of business overnight. It was great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the outreach that you can have with different Google ads and all these things, and people are really interested in hypnosis. I really think so. And well, at least people when they don't have anything else to go to, they'll try anything, right? And I think rather than self-damaging yourself, then it's even better to go to things that they're really not comfortable with, but even trying to willing to try it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, part of the problem with health issues is the amount of prescriptions that doctors are doling out, and all of the prescriptions that make it even harder for you to get better, that, rearrange everything going on in your brain, and all the antidepressants. And then if this one doesn't work, then let's take another one with it. And then let's take some other benzos, and let's
Yeah.
keep stacking them all up. When what you really need is to find the cause of it, of what's happening. Like a woman I worked with years ago, she was having migraines every Thursday for years, debilitating migraines.
Mm.
And there wasn't any pressure in her life. There wasn't anything that could be causing it. And her doctor had given her, like, there's a injection you do when you get a migraine. I forget what it's called, but it's supposed to make it go away, but it quit working as well. So just an example for people out there who are not sure what's causing their health problems. She was in the recliner, and I asked her to go back to the time where these migraines first started, the thing that caused them. And she's just kind of relaxing and breathing, and all of a sudden she just couldn't breathe. She was like, and I didn't know exactly what to do. This was new to me, and I said, when I touch your shoulder and count to 3, you'll stay right there in that moment, but you'll be able to breathe. 1, 2, 3. And I touched her shoulder, and she went, and she could breathe. And so I said, what's happening? What do you notice? She says, it's about 2 years ago, my husband is here. He's strangling me. His hands are around my throat. He's trying to kill me, and I can't breathe because he's trying to strangle me.
Wow.
So we worked through that, and I said, what day is it when this is happening? She said, it's Thursday. So she kept having migraines every Thursday because her brain brought up all those memories of what was happening. And all the doctors couldn't help her. And then we did that, and that was it. She never had them again.
Wow.
But I want people to know that that's possible. Like a phantom pain that we talked about that nobody could help, and migraines or back pain, all these things. Hypnotherapists do some miraculous work. There are some really good ones. There's some that are not so good. Well, if they're good, they're going to create miracles. It's just totally insane that this works so well.
And we can do this online as well, right? Because you have a YouTube channel and you perform your hypnosis to people. So even if it's like an online session, Zoom call, whatever it is, it's possible to get this treatment.
Yeah, so we do it on Zoom, and we do one-on-one private work. I also do classes online as well. And I do addiction work like as a group, because people seem to like to really share that with others sometimes. But some people want their privacy, so no one has to know if you have a hidden addiction that you're fighting with. And we do the things on Zoom. And just like you and I here on Zoom, you know, we're seeing each other, and we're able to feel like it is personal and it is real, and that we're doing something together. Yeah. Yeah. It's so amazing. My first client for addiction that came in, I had never worked with addiction at all. This time it was like 20 years ago. And he was a meth addict, and he was a daily continuous meth addict, and ruined his life. His wife and kids, he couldn't even see them or be near them. And I thought, I don't think that I should be trying to help someone quit meth. I don't know that I can do that. You know, I didn't tell him that. But we worked together every week for a couple months, and he quit doing meth, and it wasn't hard, and it wasn't a struggle. And 6 months later, he walked into my office with this yellow rose in his hand and said, just got to thank you, man. I'm back with my family. I never did meth again after you and I started working together. I have no desire, on and on. And with addiction, the way it destroys families and everybody in the path, not just the person who's addicted, but everyone around them, it creates torturous lives, and for the children. So for people to know that there is a really good positive experience you can have with ending your addiction. And this isn't, I'm not saying this as an advertisement for my work. I just want people to know, like, sometimes when we work together on Zoom, we work together every day for several days. And about day 3 or day 4, people say, it's so weird. I don't want to drink. I just don't care about it. How could this be? How could it have just gone away? But I want people to know that it could be easy, easier than they think.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing your wonderful personal stories and your teaching as well. And I hope that all the listeners can reach out to you as well, who has found this really interesting, and you can help them out. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope.
Yeah, thank you, Takatoshi, for having me on. This is really great. I'm fascinated by Singapore. I have one of the countries I've never been to, but I'm just so fascinated by it. So someday I'll travel there. And
yeah, vice versa as well. I love to go to Colorado too. So.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, thank you very much. Hi, this is your host Takatoshi Shibayama. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Now, if you enjoyed or disliked the show, please let me know by writing in the comment section. The only way I can improve or add value to you is through your voices. If there are any topics that you would like me to pick up, please also let me know in the comments. I'd love to start chatting with you all. And if you would like to continue watching the show, please subscribe. Thank you.